All right, everyone, settle in. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really crucial and honestly often misunderstood piece of constitutional law, Article 10 of the Indian Constitution. This is the one that deals with the continuation of your citizenship. So, yeah, pretty important stuff. Let's get right into it. So, here's the big question, the one that everything else hinges on. Once you're a citizen, is that it? Is it permanent? Untouchable? A rock-solid right that nobody can ever take from you? Or is it conditional? Well, the answer is kind of complex, and it's all packed into the surprisingly short text of Article 10. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down today. First, we'll look at the guarantee itself. Then, we'll get into the real meat of it, Parliament's ultimate power. After that, we'll cover the ways you can actually lose citizenship, check out some landmark court rulings, and finally, I'll wrap it up with the key takeaways you'll absolutely need for your exams. All right. Let's start with the promise. You know, when you first read Article 10, it seems super straightforward. It looks like this solid constitutional bedrock, just a simple assurance that says, hey, you're a citizen, you get to stay a citizen. And this is the core text. It basically says that if you're a citizen under the rules we've already covered, Articles 5 through 9, then you shall continue to be one. It feels like a lock-solid guarantee, right? But here's where it gets interesting. It's not quite that simple. Because like with so much in law, you've got to read the fine print. And the fine print in Article 10 is, well, it's everything. It's a massive, all-important condition that completely flips the script. It takes that guarantee from being absolute to being very, very conditional. And this is it. This is the phrase you need to tattoo on your brain. Subject to the provisions of any law that may be made by Parliament. This little clause is the whole game. It's the pivot point. It basically says, sure, your citizenship continues, but only as long as Parliament doesn't pass a law saying otherwise. Boom. That one line hands Parliament the ultimate power to regulate, to restrict, and even to take away citizenship. So, okay, Parliament has this immense power. How if they actually used it? Well, the main tool in their toolbox is the Citizenship Act of 1955. This is the law that gets into the nitty-gritty of how exactly a person can lose their Indian citizenship. And it boils down to three main ways. You've got renunciation, that's the voluntary one. You're an adult, you decide you don't want to be an Indian citizen anymore, you can just declare it. Then there's termination. This one's automatic. If you go out and get citizenship in another country, poof, your Indian citizenship is gone. And finally, the heavy one, deprivation. This is when the government steps in and takes it away, but they have to have grounds for it. Like you got your citizenship by fraud or you've been disloyal to the Constitution. Now, whenever you have this much power given to the government, you know it's going to be challenged in court, and it has been. So let's look at a few of the big cases, the landmark rulings from the Supreme Court that have really tested the limits of Article 10. They help us understand just how strong or not so strong this guarantee actually is. First up, and this is a big one for your exams, so listen closely, Pradeep Jain versus the Union of India. Now, this case is interesting because it's not directly about losing citizenship. Instead, it's about what it even means to be a citizen of India. Are you an Indian citizen first, or are you, say, a Maharashtrian or a Tamilian first? The whole thing kicked off over something called domicile-based reservation. Basically, states were keeping a bunch of seats in their medical colleges just for students from that state. The legal challenge was huge. Doesn't this create a sort of second-class status for citizens from other states? Doesn't it fly in the face of the idea that we're all just Indian citizens, period? And the Supreme Court came down hard. Their ruling was crystal clear. Citizenship in India is a single, unified concept. There's no such thing as state citizenship. What this case does is reinforce a massive idea about our national identity. You're an Indian first. Your state comes second. And that means states can't put up walls and discriminate against other Indians in their public institutions. Okay, on to the next one, Kihar Singh. And this one poses a really stark question. If you commit a terrible crime, a really serious one, does that automatically cancel your citizenship? So the context here is heavy. Kihar Singh was convicted in the assassination case of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. When his mercy petition went to the president, a legal debate erupted. Did he, as a convicted criminal, even have the right to petition? Was he still a citizen, or did his crimes strip him of that status? The court's answer? Absolutely clear. Yes, his citizenship continued. This is a fantastic illustration of a key principle. Citizenship is a legal status, not a privilege you lose for bad behavior. The only way you can lose it is through the specific legal channels Parliament has created, renunciation, termination, or deprivation.
It doesn't just evaporate because you've been convicted of a crime.
All right, our last case for today really puts citizenship to the test under some pretty extreme political circumstances. What happens to your rights when things go sideways, a state government is dismissed, and the central government imposes what's called president's rule? So the question before the court was this: can a huge executive power move, like imposing president's rule, mess with your fundamental status as a citizen? Does your relationship with the country fundamentally change just because there's a political or constitutional crisis going on? And again, the court was decisive. The answer is no. The guarantee in Article 10 holds strong. It is not affected by president's rule or other emergency powers. This is huge. The takeaway is that your status as a citizen is incredibly robust. It's meant to be protected even from these extraordinary government actions. It's not a switch that can be flipped on and off. It really puts a check on executive power. Okay, let's pull all these threads together. If you're cramming for an exam and can only remember a few things from today, these are the ones. This is the stuff you absolutely have to know. Number 1, Article 10. It's the bridge. It connects the grant of citizenship with Parliament's power to regulate it. Number 2, that key phrase, subject to any law made by Parliament. That phrase is the whole ballgame. Number 3, the 3 ways to lose citizenship. Know them cold: renunciation, termination, deprivation. And finally, number 4, your go-to case for the idea of a single unified Indian citizenship is Pradeep Chain. Got it? And so all of this leaves us with a big, fundamental question that's still debated today. Article 10 gives a guarantee, but it's a guarantee with a massive asterisk. So where do we draw the line? How do you balance a person's right to citizenship against Parliament's power to take it away? It's the central tension of the whole thing. Something for you to chew on. All right, that's it for today.